friends. Welcome back to Budgeting Over 40. I'm Melissa, and today we're here to close out paycheck number 1 of November. We're here on the transaction log, and we're just going to jump in and track all the transactions that came in after I did the check-in midway through the pay period. So we're just going to scroll down, and the last transaction that was tracked was this one here for my renter's insurance for $43.75. Now, on the 13th, my Geico car insurance came out for $251.80. Then I also made a payment to my credit card. This was to my Discover card in the amount of $3 on the 13th. I wanted to bring the balance down to an even $2,400. On the 14th, I went to Stop and Shop and I bought grocery items for $43.73. And then on the 14th, I did school picture order for my son. The one that I did before was just for my little girl. So $48.92 was what I paid. On the 15th, I went to CVS and picked up prescriptions for $3.44. That same day, I picked up laundry detergent and I split the order because I did have some coupons to use. I think I walked out with 4 laundry detergents, 4 of the bigger bottles, so $9.78 and $23.75. So for those two orders, for a total of 4 laundry detergents, I paid $33.53. On the 15th, I made a payment to New York Cancer and Blood. This was one of my doctors. This is a copay that I guess I should have paid before, and I didn't pay it, so a bill came home in the mail. I paid that $25. On the 15th, NF Orthodontist did take the payment for the braces for $225. On the 16th, I went to Speedway and I bought gas, $30. This was the only money that I had available in my car fuel in YNAB, so this is what I pumped. On the 16th, I did make the payment, or the payment cleared from Mattress Firm for $67. And that day, I went to King Cullen and I did a big shop for groceries. I spent $270.13. And then for household consumable, I spent $22.39. On the 16th, Prime Video, this is something hubby did again. And I spoke to him about this. $6.99 was something he ordered on Prime Video that he wanted to watch. And for some reason, I don't know why he's not paying attention, you guys, that he needs to put it onto his credit card and not charge it to mine. On the 18th, I did an order for Amazon for Aquaphor for $16.28. So I have mentioned to you guys that my son has eczema. Now, my daughter also has a touch of eczema, and with the colder months coming in, her skin has been very dry, and Aquaphor is one of the things that actually helps keep the moisture in her skin, just so she doesn't dry out too much, and then she get rashes or her eczema start to act up. On the 18th, I went to the local cafe and picked up food. This is breakfast at work for $11.43. And then I applied cashback. So this cashback of $3.38 is what comes back from charging the amounts to my card for my son's braces. And the reason why I'm putting it in here is because when I go and pay the amount for my son's braces, I don't usually pay the $225 back to the card. I do have the cashback applied. So $221.62 is usually what comes out of the budget. So I don't want the monies to be off, so I'm applying the cash back so it's reflected. On the 19th, I went back to the local cafe for $5 and purchased a bagel. And then on the 19th, I did get a payout from Upside for $11.13. So if you're not aware about Upside, Upside is what I use to buy gas. I do get a kickback from that or cash back from it. But what I did notice is that you have to be over $10 to cash out without, I should say, having a fee of, I think it's 25 cents or 75 cents that they take out of the money for you to cash out under $10. So I always wait until it's over 10, then I cash out. So that's all the transactions for paycheck number 1. We did track most of them when I did the check-in. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and take a look. But what I'm going to do now is jump over to the paycheck budget spreadsheet, and we're going to talk about how this money that was brought in this pay period was spent. So one thing I'm going to do is change the date from the 20th to the 19th because the next paycheck did come in on the 20th. So you could see here we're in the income section. For rollover, I did have a negative. So this is a negative coming into this paycheck period. So I had to cover $14.92 of consumables, which is household consumables in YNAB, before I was able to assign money to any of the other categories. I did also have to cover $228.59 for groceries and $32.01 for car fuel. So $403.52 was a negative that had to come out of the income before I could budget the money for anything else that needed to happen within this 2 week period. The main income that I brought in was my income for $2,483.75. Miscellaneous income, I did only budget $1,375, but we brought in $1,541.20. So that's a plus. We did bring in a little bit more. No transfers was budgeted, but $13.58 was brought in. And the total income that was budgeted was $3,858. And I am only working with $3,635.03. I waited a second right there because I was wondering, how is it that I have more in miscellaneous and I do have transfers, but the money here is less? But I need to remember that there was a negative for the rollover. So let's talk about how we cover the bills that were budgeted. So in the fixed expenses, car insurance was budgeted and we came in at 251.80. 252 is the rounded amount that I budgeted. For renter's insurance, we paid 43.75, budgeted 44. For braces, 225 was budgeted and spent. For after school, budgeted and spent 80. And for child support, this is something that I didn't pay in pay period number 1 because I pulled that money out to go grocery shopping. So $864 was budgeted in pay period number 1 for fixed expenses, and we ended up spending $600.55. Now into the debt section. For credit card minimums, we budgeted $272 but only spent $145. And I need to swing back because I want to know why we only have. First of all, let's take a look at what I had here. I had 77, 67, and 128. Okay, so I do know what happened. The 128 came out of the pay period before, or it was paid in the pay period before. So 145 is correct. We did budget $743 for a firm, but we spent $741.57. So out of the $1,015 that was budgeted for debt, we came in under and only spent $886.57. Now moving down into the savings section, I didn't have anything budgeted to send over to the cars category, but sent $1. Nothing for family, but sent $5. In the home section, I did have $52 here. This was budgeted to be sent over to pay the vacuum cleaner, but I did go ahead and pay it all off. So what was spent and sent to savings was $108.97. So the total that was budgeted in the savings section was $52, but we ended up having expenses of $114.97. Now, under the variable expenses section, $45 was budgeted for car expense, but we spent $62.61. For food, budgeted 400, and you guys, oh my gosh, we came in under. Oh my goodness, $396.66. What a way to go. So I am pretty happy with this. For giving, I didn't budget anything because I completely forgot, but spent $25 in tips. For household consumable, we went over. I only budgeted $50, but spent $72.20. For my babies, I didn't have anything budgeted, but spent $91.63. And for personal, had $230 budgeted and spent $246.99. So we were over there. And also for wellness, I only had $75 budgeted, but spent $123.44. So the total budgeted was $800 for variable expenses, but we spent $1,018.53. So we're over by $218.53, which is not terrible because other times we've gone over by much more. Now, in the miscellaneous section, I did budget $550 for heating oil, but came in at $605.82. Propane budgeted $178, paid $177.99. The reimbursement was budgeted and we spent $200. And rollover, I did have $199 left that I was hoping to roll over into the next pay period, but we only had a $2. I'm considering it a rollover, but it's mainly a buffer in one of my checking accounts. So that's a total of $1,127 for miscellaneous expenses that was budgeted, and we came in under and spent $985.81. So let's go ahead and sum this up. The income and expenses that was budgeted was $3,858, but the total income that we were working with, $3,635.03, and we spent $3,606.43. So you guys, and you've heard it because if you've seen my paycheck allocation for pay period number 2 of November, you would have seen that we did not have any negative amounts to cover, no overspending to cover in the second pay period that we are currently in. So $28.60 in the positive, you guys. It is green. Can you see that? It is very green. This was what was rolled over into the next pay period. And you could see here, I do have $29.26 here. This is the difference because when I checked my accounts and my wallet, the total amount was $29.26. So this is a difference of, and I'm just going to tell you, the discrepancy is just 66 cents. So for what I had in my wallet and pockets and bank account was 66 difference from what was in the budget here. So I actually have more money than what it's showing here. I hope you guys are following. But in any case, it is a positive number that is rolling over into pay period number 2 of November. So you guys, I'm pretty proud of myself. I did mention this at the end of my paycheck allocation for paycheck number 2 for November, that we didn't have any overspending to cover, unlike this pay period where $403.52 was the negative amount we had to pull out of these monies here. So you guys, thank you so much for taking the time out to watch this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye now.